Stream test. It's good? You shouldn't. Check, check, stream test. All right, great.
Boxer box.
I know. I was just like, I want to be called out. They actually see me.
That's what's called the boxer box. Because Barbara Boxer is this short, and so we used an apple box in the Senate to make her, and we called it a boxer box. She loved it.
Oh my God, yeah.
We gotta tell people to scoot toward left.
Oh, okay. I don't think we're on yet. Do you want to pop one of these on? And then...
Luis. Please move to the left of the room and the back. Please fill the room. This is a sold out event. Thank you. Hey, you made it. I made it, yeah. I got a couple of people that we got time. This is Natalie Cash.
So I can move
I usually sit here because this is keep this on. Keep this on. All right.
Hey!
He's gonna be great.
I love that he's gonna be on time for Christmas and that, like, he had to walk here.
What?
He had to walk here.
Yeah.
Last night. That's insane. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be early. And even trying to be early, I still got here at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we just hung out kind of in the area and
6 and 2 o'clock, I think. And just like stayed in the back. Actually, I saw a sea green filling her air with some filling her lungs with some actual air when I first arrived. Just to like.
It's too dangerous to go anywhere because you get stuck.
They will close roads. They will close the FDR. Oh, good. I got like an easy bit.
I'm so excited.
I got an easy bit.
It's gonna be amazing.
Now, did you see? I actually can leave these here for Bill and for Kris because I took one back by the because he'll just come here like Alex did.
One thing about that is
Kind of grows.
Okay, so and I saw Katie. Okay.
Maybe not. That's usually where there's light. We? Yeah. Sure.
Here, you know, so we're all like, yeah. But you can hold that until later.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello. Oh, okay. This is a full house. This is exciting to see. Good evening and welcome. I'll introduce myself in a minute, but I want to know how many first-time visitors do we have tonight for the Explorers Club? Ooh, welcome. Welcome. And how many in the room have attended Climate Week now in its remarkable 7th year here at the club before? Okay, welcome back. We've got some newcomers. Well, whether it's your first, your 5th, or your 500th time at the Explorers Club, welcome. We thank you for joining us for another amazing evening of Climate Week. My name is Natalie Cash. I'm the executive producer of the Wildlife Conservation Society. This is an organization founded in 1895 as the New York Zoological Society. We run the 4 zoos and the 1 aquarium here in New York City and operate conservation programs in 50 countries around the world. At 4,000 strong, we boast the largest number of field staff, that's more boots on the ground doing the actual work, than any other conservation organization in the world. Now, I'm also proud to be a fellow and serve on the board of directors here at the Explorers Club, and I also co-chair the Public Lectures Committee with fellow director Paul Tangy. And I'd like to recognize, I know I saw them earlier in the room, Callie Broadus and Katie Losi, who also serve on the Public Lectures Committee. Ladies, they may be upstairs or outside, but they're here in the room somewhere. And also Christina Giannoulis, who I did serve with the first year on Public Lectures, who is now helping to program both Climate Week and World Oceans Week at the club. She also runs the Blue Generation program for upcoming professionals in marine conservation. Now, since we do have a lot of new folks in the room today, I just want to say the Explorers Club, for those of you who may not be familiar, is the global leader for exploration. Exploration that promotes greater scientific understanding of the natural world. The club was founded in 1904 by leading polar explorers of the day. Today, we have more than 3,800 members in 35 chapters around the world, with members engaged in scientific research, resource conservation, science communication, and exploration on this planet and beyond. To borrow a catchphrase from our lead sponsor for this event, Rolex, and one of the lead sponsors of the club, Explorers Club members reach for the crown and have received a series of famous firsts that you may have seen on a placard downstairs in the lobby. First to Everest, first to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, first to the North Pole, first to the South Pole, first to the Moon, first to Everest. Each of these firsts achieved by Explorers Club members. We explore for the benefit of humanity and all life. To promote scientific understanding, we hold lectures here on a regular basis, even when it's not Climate Week. Here in this room, every Monday night, you can look at upcoming events on explorers.org or see them on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page where they're simulcast live. But tonight, we are going to continue with discussions around our changing climate, and I'd like to give a special shout out to Climate Week Chair and Founder, Dr. Alex Moore. And all of the sponsors that make this week possible. Now, when the club was founded in 1904, as I said, it was primarily made up of polar explorers. Today, when new members enter, 75% are engaged in conservation. So, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome back to the Explorers Club Lecture your host for this evening, author, journalist, and CNN correspondent Bill Weir, to introduce one of the world's leading conservationists and launch a groundbreaking new initiative that in itself is a historic first. Bill, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much. It is so wonderful to be back at the Explorers Club. I like to say that I must have been a very kind giraffe in a previous life because I get to fill passports for a living. I get to go explain the most miraculous corners of our planet to each other, to my audience. And a few years back, I got the greatest green light of my life. I pitched a show called The Wonder List, where I want to go to the wonders of the world and wonder what would be left of them for my daughter when she turns my age in 2050. And one of the first places we came to was the Explorers Club, just looking for ideas, because this place, I think, is haunted by the most intrepid ghosts in the world. There's so many great stories here. But by virtue of that show, I happened to meet one of our luminaries here tonight. And she represents something that I learned from Mr. Rogers. To our South American friends, Mr. Rogers was a children's television host who taught us to be kind and love each other and animals. And he said that anytime things got scary in the world, his mom told him to look for the helpers on TV. In any emergency, there's always helpers rushing in. And I get to meet helpers. And the woman you're about to meet would go on my Mount Rushmore of helpers, because the folks who fill my soul may be reviving a park or a hiking trail. This woman has set out, and her people that she would put on Mount Rushmore as well, to rewild an entire continent, to bring back ecosystems on the grandest scales. And it's so audacious and so wonderful and so doable, as I will show you, as we'll talk about later, that hopefully it fills your cup here today and sends you into the world when people are saying crazy things in the highest seats of power, that there are helpers working on the ground to do the right thing for our planet and ourselves, ultimately. But it is my great pleasure to introduce, so to break the embargo on this news, the launch of the Jaguar Rivers Initiative. Take a look.
Where the mountainous spine of Patagonia and the forest lungs of the Amazon meet, here, in the vast expanses of the Paraná Basin, is where the heart of South America beats, with a rhythm of rivers and streams. Nothing works in isolation. Rivers are the testimony of this, carriers of sediments, seeds, and a plethora of fauna and flora. A force capable of carving landscapes and habitats in the most diverse of brushstrokes. Used as a gateway during the steady expansion of colonization inland, river systems have been cut to shreds. What was once ecologically binding became the dividing line between vast territories. The ecological devastation has carved deep cultural rifts, fueling rural poverty and hastening the exodus to cities. Urban centers have relegated their very source of subsistence to the peripheries, risking a fatal split. Many have departed, leaving few behind to protect what remains. Yet those who stay know and remember that they stand at the forefront of a different path. A path signaled by the tracks, the flight, the roar of those who have returned from the brink of extinction.
You know, back then, a small window of opportunity opened for this wild vision to emerge, of revitalizing the Ibirá wetlands to bring back the jaguar after almost a century of its absence. And this, I thought, was the challenge of a lifetime. And 25 years later, I'm reminded again that whenever you have success with something, you have no choice but to keep going and expanding the boundaries of what's possible.
The time has come for taking rewilding to a continental scale. Amidst the great territories of Patagonia and the Amazon, the Paraná Basin spans over 6,900 kilometers, with the Ibirá wetlands nested at its core. After more than 2 decades of rewilding, Ibirá has become a pulsing source of biodiversity flowing upstream. Through the Bermejo and Pincomayo rivers to the west, where the dry Chaco forest climbs until reaching the misty subandean streams, to the Paraguay Basin, where the turbulent waters meet the calm floodplains of Pantanal, and up the upper Paraná River, whose rapid spin until arriving at the breathtaking spectacle of the Iguazu Falls. The Paraná Basin acts as a common water thread, recreating strong transboundary partnerships, stretching through and beyond the horizon of northern Argentina to Bolivia, Paraguay, and Brazil. Led by South America's most iconic inhabitant, the jaguar, 4 leading grassroots NGOs have come together in a joint endeavor to launch the Jaguar River Initiative and restore connectivity across the continent. At the headwaters in Bolivia, Nativa focuses on strengthening territorial management and forest guardianship by native communities in the face of a rapidly expanding agricultural frontier. At the upper course in Brazil, On Safari works with big landowners in the Pantanal region, co-developing alternatives to cattle ranching based on wildlife observation and jaguar coexistence. In Paraguay, a country traversed by one of the main rivers of the basin, Fundación Moisés Bertoni engages with companies and businesses working towards circular economies with sustainable water management. In Argentina, Rewilding Argentina works across 4 major ecoregions with governments and local communities. Together they restore ecosystems, create protected areas, and promote nature destinations that value wildlife and regional culture. The Jaguar Rivers Initiative will harness the original role of rivers as wildlife corridors. First, we will identify arcs, vast natural areas with healthy ecosystems that will become sources of wildlife and act as donors to other reserves. Together with governments and local communities, we will prioritize the protection of land, improve the arc's design, prevent illegal poaching and deforestation, and control invasive species. Second, we will establish stepping stones to shorten the distances between arcs, so wildlife find safety and shelter as they move along corridors. Through the Jaguar Rivers Initiative, we will inspire landowners living next to arcs and stepping stones to join this productive reconversion and adapt nature-inspired solutions like agroforestry and biodiversity credits.
As we face the turbulence and paralysis brought by the breakdown of our planet, I always come back to this. Hope has to be earned, and what we need right now is the kind of hope that can only be built from making bold moves together. Resilience flows here through the open veins of South America, a continent that, even when dismembered and neglected, still endures, pulsing surely as a river on its course to the sea. And it's here where the seed of hope is carried, where the people of the land form their bond to the deep beauty and intelligence found in nature, rewilding our very being.
The place is here. The time is now. Rivers map the way to the biggest picture possible. This is more than an act of resistance to the current trend of extinction. This is a quest for resilience, a journey forward into nature. Together, we can weave back the wild fabric that once held South America as one.
That was so beautiful, well produced. Congrats to who made that. So as I mentioned before, I did this show called The Wonder List, and in looking for stories to tell, I came across one of the most amazing love stories I've ever found of Doug and Kris Tompkins. Him, the CEO, founder of North Face, her, the CEO of Patagonia, who had a sort of late-in-life romance, and took their rather comfortable lifestyle and traded it in to live off the grid in one of the most spectacular fjords you've ever seen. I had the honor of visiting where they went. And they started buying up land. Doug would fly around looking at cattle ranches. And they realized that nature and our use of nature was way more important to them than art collections. And so they created national parks, inspired by America's Best Idea, have created millions of acres of national parks in South America. And in following up on Kris and her endeavors, actually ended up sharing an airplane with her a few months back with a live jaguar, a female big cat named Minnie, and it was the first translocation that had ever been done. They had such success in one of their projects, Ibarra Wetlands, that they are now moving one to Impenetrable. And the clue is in the name because the landscapes are so rugged and remote, but the idea that these jaguar populations now have a shot and a better than average shot going forward. And the idea that she has just carried on after Doug's tragic passing to carry this mantle in this way fills me with such admiration for our next speaker, Kris Tompkins, everybody.
Hello, hello. Great. Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. Nice to see a packed crowd on a very good subject. Tonight, for me, is a very important night because it's the realization of addressing necessity. And you can't always do that with your life. You see something, you've worked on something, in our case, for 33 years down in South America, Chile and Argentina, and seeing what's happening with landscape, but also with species. And we're looking out on that horizon always. What should we be thinking? How do we respond to what's going on in the world? And of course, whether it's climate or other issues, the velocity at which species are being lost and that territory is being harvested for production and so on, that we took a hard look at what we've been doing over the last few decades and how do we change the nature of what we're doing in terms of impact, speed, and resilience. So talking to Sofia about 3 years ago already, we decided, you know, our strategy over time has been aggregating large tracts of land and think of them as a canvas. And you have to have a canvas if you're going to paint a masterpiece. And what we were after from 1992 forward was to not recreate wild nature, but to bring it back from its roots. And all of our rewilding, as we aggregated several million acres and then attached it to Chilean and Argentine federal lands and created these 15 national parks over 15 million acres, is that we would ask ourselves within those territories that's where we would work. And we would ask ourselves, who's missing? Could be forest, it could be jaguars, could be low populations of pumas and nyandus in Chile. Whoever it was, we committed that wherever we were working, we would bring them back. A lot easier said than done, but today we work with 34 species and developing new territories all the time. That said, when we realized that working within the boundaries of a particular national park we'd helped create, it's not enough. Once you start working with jaguars, and if you have success bringing back jaguars, they're not going to stay, even if it's 2 million acres of Iberá wetlands. They need to be on the move, and boy, have they been moving. And this, we knew it, but the not realization, but the acceptance that now is the time to commit yourselves to go onto a continental scale. I'm going to introduce you to Sofia Heinonen, who is the head of Rewilding Argentina. We've worked together nonstop for 25 years, sometimes like cats in a bag. But something happened along the way in our personal trajectory. Doug died in a kayak accident in an afternoon, and just weeks after that happened, I was with Sofia up in the Iberá wetlands, sitting around with Laura Fernandez, who's here tonight, and said, you guys have to be independent, and it has to happen now. Because if something happened to me, I was very worried that somehow that loss of my life might influence at all the trajectory, the quality, and the strength, the muscle of what these teams have been doing. So we did that. It was painful. It was necessary. So what is the outcome of that? you're going to see Sofia speak in a few minutes. And what that has done has allowed us to say yes. Tompkins Conservation is a partner. I'm sort of like the fairy godmother of both countries at this point for our work. But this is done, designed, pushed through by Sofia Heinonen. And we have seen, as we began to think about what you have seen so far, that this is not a project that can be done by people outside of South America. This is the work of communities. This is every bend in those rivers. This is tracking. This is on the ground, full bore, every day. And that has to be led by incredible leaders from the global South. So what started as a sort of castigation, we're not thinking fast enough, hard enough about, let's critique our work, has grown already into something that is not about to begin, but is underway, and it's been underway for a year and a half. And today we have enough under our belts, and these 4 people whom you're going to meet, that I can imagine, I'm 75 years old, and I'm going to watch this and work on this until the day I die, because this has a horizon. This is 20 years. This is 25 years. Maybe it's faster. But this allows me to realize that where we started 33 years ago, it has everything and nothing to do with us, because everybody's launched and looking at a way to rebuild wild communities, human communities, and you can imagine beauty, you can imagine richness and diversity. And that, who doesn't want to die with those things in their heads and watch these teams flourish? So tonight, this is a very important night for me. The first time I spoke at the Explorers Club, which was a few decades ago, I asked them where the women's bathroom was. And it was like down in the bowels of the club. So now it's 2025, I'm back. And it's very close by. So I'm going to turn you over to whom I believe is the female version of Doug Tompkins, Sofia Heinonen, the head of Rewilding Argentina.
Well, thank you very much. It's so nice to see you all here, so many friends, so much good energy. We are trying to launch an initiative within the 4 main NGOs of Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Brazil. And for us, it's very important to launch it here with all of you, because that gives us a lot of power and energy to commit for these for the next 25 years. And this is a very important commitment. It's like a ceremony. We are like marrying between us to get this river really restore, reconnect, and rewild. So I'm going to little bit go through what we think is a very perhaps controversial thing, but if we want to scale up and go against the crisis of climate crisis or extinction, we need in a way to think without borders. I know here there's a collection of 3,000 maps, and maps are very good to understand the world, but if we want to really take action for the future, we need to start designing new maps. And these maps should not be, should not bring borders, man-made borders that shape countries. It should bring nature on its core. And this is taking action beyond borders. We know that we have to think much more out of the box, and this is out of our own countries. What it links us, these countries all together, are the rivers. The rivers really are the lifeblood of ecosystems. Rivers bring us fresh water, bring us sediment, soil. It allows movement of wildlife. So we think really that is in the core of our strategy will be really getting this river to continue to be alive. Because without rivers and without water, we are really going to collapse. And collapse is here, very close. Collapse is, these rivers are collapsing because the extraction of water. They are collapsing because of pollution. We know that they are collapsing by sedimentation and damming. But we still have big rivers, like 5 big rivers. 3 of those, they don't have dams. They are still alive. The two, this is the Paraguay River, the Bermejo River, the Pilcomayo. And we have also the Iguazu River and the Paraná River that holds all together towards the sea. And we need to work hard so we don't lose the main heart of South America. Also, we know that the landscape is under siege. We have a lot of things to do. This is a basin that is fragmented. This was a main basin for agriculture. It has more than 400 years, and the last 100 years have been big agriculture development. But still, we think, we know that the ecoregions have been really fragmented. You know, the Atlantic forest is less than 10% of the distribution is there. Also, the cloud forests in Argentina have been reduced by 90%. So the numbers are really an urgency, a call for action. Fires in Bolivia the last year were burning like 25 million acres in one season. So it's an urgency, a call to action, but we think it is possible to turn the tide. I want to repeat a little bit that when Doug and Kris came to Argentina, they were looking for a commitment to create big parks, but with a new strategy that was buying this piece of land and to rewild. And for us, Argentines, this was mind-blowing. I was working for the government, and doing parks was the work for government, not for a private person that is willing to create 10 new national parks. That was like out of any imagination of us. But now, 25 years later, it took us one generation. I went there with my kids, little kids. Now, the film you see was made by my daughter there. So I'm proud to say that we are ready with the next generation, ready to go. This will take us another generation, but we have the experience, we have the government, we have the science, we have the technology. We have we are in power to take action from the ground. Why here and why now? Well, the Paraná Basin is a huge basin. It's almost the two Alaskas, just to make a comparison. It's huge. It has 5 main rivers in its core. It overlaps with Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Argentina. Although we have borders in between, the opportunity to work together to really be on both sides of the river is an opportunity to make big binational or tri-national parks. And they give us much more resilience against government changes, left, right, because we can work from different baskets. So we have really critical ecoregions. We have the cloud forest, we have the Chaco, the Atlantic forest, Pantanal, Cerrado, Chiquitanías. There's huge amount of thousands of species, and there's a lot of communities living here, millions of people living within these rivers. So we think is the moment, we don't have any more moment to think about this, is the moment to go for it, to restore, reconnect, and protect. And we know this is a basin that is the second basin in South America. And if we can do it here, we can replicate this model in Amazonia, because I think fragmentation will come to Amazonia at the end. So what we prove here, it will be really helpful for saving the whole basis in all the continents. We have 4 organizations. I'm leading Rewilding Argentina, and we have been working, as Kris says, creating big parks, reintroducing a lot of species. But it's also on safari in Brazil. They were leading the tourist wildlife watching. This was new for South America. This is, you can see wildlife in Africa, do safaris, but in South America, this was a new experience with science to bring habituation, and they did it with a lot of ranchers, not only in Pantanal, but in Cerrado, Amazonia. Fundación Moisés Bertoni, they were working 2 decades managing Baracaju, is the last piece of rainforest in Paraguay, and they also have been working a lot with companies for circular economy along the rivers. And Nativa also is a grassroots from Bolivia. They have been working for more than 20 years with communities, creating community reserves in native nations. They have been working with government. They have this relationship with local people. So we think within the 4 of us, we have more than, 80 years of experience in South America. We are really ready to go. This said, how we are going to do this? What will be our main strategies? We choose working very close to the ground. So arcs, Noé's arcs, will be the Noé. We will be the guardians of the main places. The 4 of us, the 4 entities, will guardian these big parks, large areas with well-protected management. And in between these arcs, because there are not many, you will see it. They are in the upper basin and the middle basin, but there's a long distance between arcs. We will create and promote a stepping stone. This is refuge. This is creating stepping stones along the river, so the distance between arcs, they're not so far away, and animals can move and find refuge in between and reproduce. Then we will also protect and restore with governments the river systems. That is a lot of work, but we know that now technology is here. We can monitor through satellites what is happening. We can denounce very quickly. We have the fires alarm. We can see deforestation, the water quality, the floods, and we can build a net of guardians, citizen guardians along the river. We also are willing to work hard to bring communities in buffer zones to protect these places, these arcs, by doing regenerative economies with grassroots community. And the other thing, we need a lot of leadership, local leadership, governance. We have to empower people on the ground. We have to make decisions day by day because this is an emergency. So we will do a lot of capacity building in South America. Here we will, this is the vision. This is a long-term vision. This is what we are willing to happen. We are looking 20 years from now, and we need to choose our battles. We cannot save everything. This is a huge area the size of 2 Alaskas. So what we are doing is designing what we want to be our main source of wildlife and our rivers alive. And we want the stepping stones to shorten the distance so this can be a healthy river system. So the outcomes, as I said, is establish these functional corridors, improve livelihood of local communities so they don't need to migrate to cities. They need to be on the ground. They need to live from the forest. And we will also recover 20 native species that actually they are in danger. We want them to be our leaders. We want to follow the jaguars. We want to follow the giant otters. We have satellite collars, and they will lead us to the main corridor. So it's not us taking decisions. We will be lead for the keystone species. We also we will work a lot to reduce threats in river system. That is a lot of work with development banks. This is a lot of work trying to have regulations, trying to empower people to really have a big voice for the water. We will also try to have the new generation, a big scale of conservation leaders, and thinking always of replicate the model. We want to have this as we have Iberá, as a basin that could be restored and have to lead the other restoration in the other basins in the world. This is a lot of work, and I can say that this will take us more than 20 years, probably more than $400 million, but not doing this will take us much more cost, so better start today. The first milestones is for the 3 next years. Our needs are $29 million between the 4 countries. $79 million within the 4 countries, but this is a third of this is buying land, just to know. It's not a lot of money because we are going to buy more than 150,000 acres with this money also, not only operations. And the good thing is we will announce on Saturday with a global citizen the commitment of already 26 million for this initiative. So, bueno. Please join the current, jump in.
All right, thank you. Let's get the rest of our panelists to come up now, please, and you can sit in any order. You're up here as well, Sofia. Oh, you have an actual order. I wasn't at rehearsal, obviously. Great to have you all here. You have your microphones. You got a little water next to you there. I can use this mic.
Thank you.
And give you that one. And so, starting left to right, please introduce yourselves.
Okay, so my name is Deli Saavedra. I'm the director of this Jaguar Rivers Initiative. I'm also volunteer to translate Ivan from Spanish to English. And wow, just let me say that it's amazing how many people are here, and thank you very much.
Gracias, Deli. Mi nombre es Iván Arnold. Yo soy director ejecutivo de Nativa, Naturaleza Tierra y Vida, es una organización que trabaja en Bolivia y trabajamos en el marco del gran paisaje Chaco Pantanal.
So my name is Iván Arnold. I'm the executive director of Nativa Bolivia and focusing in the big, huge landscape Chaco Pantanal.
Well, I'm Sofia Heinonen from Rewilding, Argentina.
Hello, my name is Jan Esperanza, executive director of Fundación Moisés Bertoni in Paraguay. And I'm really excited to be here in the middle of these dreamers. And as you mentioned, Kris, you're also a dreamer. I was thinking in what Walt Disney says, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And this is a group, believe me, this is a group of South American very encouraged people. So thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Mario Haberfeld. I'm the founder and CEO of On Safari, an organization that started with ecotourism, developing ecotourism with jaguars in Brazil. Now we work in 4 different biomes and started creating corridors in Brazil, and it's a dream come true to be part of this initiative that just makes our efforts even more valuable. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here. Thanks for committing to this. I love the generational idea of this. You know, the Chinese proverb, a man who plants a tree that'll give shade he never sits in. You know, you are the embodiment of that. Bravo to you. I'm just going to start with you, Deli. Just when it's so hard to create protected nature in the current age of extraction and politics, why do you think the time is right for something this ambitious?
Well, I mean, the reality, as you say, is that many protected areas are underfunded. I mean, they lack the capacity to fight threats, to shield borders. Sometimes, very often, the staff is not backed by the government, so they are unable to let's say, to stop the degradation of the landscapes. So for that reason, the Jaguar Rivers Initiative, we want to focus on the arcs. You have seen those huge areas, which large landscapes that encompass protected areas are unprotected areas also. where we focus our strategy so we can be first more strategic and then we can optimize resources. Also, those arcs, as you have seen in the map, there are transboundary arcs. So that means that we are going to work at both sides of the border. So you also optimize resources if you are working in both sides of the borders. Otherwise, you are just doing half of the work. So that's also, I think, very important. And finally, I mean, if threats are big, as you were saying, threats are scaling up, okay, then our conservation efforts need to scale up too. And that's the reason that we are committing many organizations to work on a cross-border.
If you could ask Ivan, mucho gusto. How do you work with indigenous communities? I know they're hugely important to this. How do you gain their trust?
Aló. Gracias, Bill. A ver, Nativa viene trabajando hace años en el paisaje Chaco-Pantanal.
So Nativa is working for years in Chaco-Pantanal landscape.
Tiene un acuerdo con diferentes comunidades y pueblos indígenas, entre ellos con la autonomía Charagua y Ambae, que es una autonomía del pueblo indígena guaraní.
So it has an agreement with different indigenous groups, but especially with Charagua Autonomous Indigenous Government.
En 2019 ayudamos a consolidar un área de 2.5 millones de acres, que es la primera área protegida indígena en Bolivia, que se llama Ñembihuasu.
So in 2019, we support the creation of this new protected area called Ñembihuasu, which is 2.5 million acres.
El trabajo que realiza Nativa es apoyar, acompañar al pueblo indígena en la gestión del área protegida, pero fundamentalmente respetando los usos, costumbres y la cosmovisión con la que el pueblo indígena ve y concibe la conservación del medio ambiente.
So the objective of Nativa is to support and to back the Charagua government, so the indigenous government, but on the basis that they are the stewards of the land, so they are the ones that they need to follow their cosmogony, their ancestral practices, etc.
Hasta ahora hemos venido ayudando en todo lo que es apoyo para contratar personal, equipos, construcciones, para que se pueda hacer la gestión del área, por supuesto capacitación también.
So we are backing this co-management with training, equipment, paying salaries.
Bueno, y se planea en los próximos años continuar con este apoyo. El Ñembihuasu es importante en sí mismo, son 2.5 millones de hectáreas, pero también es fundamental porque conecta dos parques nacionales, Otuquis y el Parque Nacional Cailla, sumando un total de 15 millones de acres en el mejor estado de conservación en todo el Chaco sudamericano.
So the plan is to continue backing Ñembihuasu protected area, but the thing here is not only this park, which is 2.5 million acres, which is huge, but this is the bridge with two other national parks. One is called Otuquis, and the other called is Cailla, and altogether this is an amazing, huge area of 50 million acres.
Se planea también empezar a trabajar con algún modelo aprendiendo de un safari, de Rewilding, de Moisés Bertoni, de turismo comunitario, de turismo de observación de vida silvestre en los próximos años.
Also, next steps are also to start following what on safari, for example, can teach community ecotourism to start all the productive activities in the area.
Eso.
Excellent. Jan, you have a different challenge. I understand along the Paraguay River, a lot more human settlements, obviously, higher human population. How do you manage that challenge, especially with jaguars?
Well, yes. This happens in urban areas. And yes, for sure, this is a threat for this kind of thing. But, you know, we want to see the glass half full, not only the glass half empty. That means that in urban area you can also find resources, innovation, alliance, influence, and we try to take advantage of that situation. And especially it's happening something interesting in our countries. More and more the societies, especially young generation, demand for sustainability. They really demand for that. So when we're starting to work with companies, big multinational companies, they should understand, and they understanding that they cannot be seen as part of the problem. They have to be seen as part of the solution. And they have to do something about it. And we started to help them, for instance, in circular economy, because most of the waste from the product that we consume every day goes to the rivers. and creating pollution, contamination, these kind of things. So what can we do in order to move, to shift from the paradigm of cradle to grave, because grave would mean rivers, contamination, to another paradigm of cradle to cradle, which means how can we reuse, how can we recycle what they are producing. And sometimes for big companies, it's not always easy to make this movement, because for big companies, it's very easy to manufacture something, to market something, to sell something, to produce something. But now we have to talk about reverse logistics. Now we have to talk about how can we deal with the waste? In this case, how can we reuse? So we are developing some innovative approaches in order to save our river from contamination, for instance, but working with big companies, showing them that we can work together, and also communities can take advantage of that situation, because they can also create or get some income from this kind of innovative approaches.
Right. That is so fascinating. I talk about all the time how the climate beat touches every aspect of our lives, everything in our built environment. And you just encapsulated that these kinds of efforts are far beyond trackers in the jungle. It's about convincing CEOs to make less destructive packaging and change minds that way. Fascinating. Let me go to Mario in Brazil. You've been working with Jaguar, sort of conservation, ecotourism, I understand. But the one thing that fascinated me about the Tompkins initial story when they went down to Patagonia is, imagine this, you're a cattle rancher where most of your life Jaguar is the enemy number one. And here are these crazy gringos who come in and say, yeah, we want to put them back. We want to reintroduce this apex predator. We know how that goes in places like Colorado when we introduced wolves recently. How has the thinking changed around these animals, and what is the fear and the fascination that you're dealing with?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. I think what on safari we started with habituating jaguars, which is a scientific method, a non-invasive method that makes jaguars more comfortable around vehicles. They don't gain anything from it, they don't lose anything from it, they just stop running from vehicles, stop perceiving them as a threat. And with that, we can do ecotourism pretty much like it's done in Africa with lions and leopards, but now with jaguars, which used to be very, very elusive. I think that's the way forward. If we think about the Pantanal where we started, the Pantanal is the smallest biome in Brazil, the most conserved one, but you can fit Austria, Switzerland, and Belgium inside, so it's still a very big area. And it's impossible to police that, right? In Brazil, it's illegal to hunt, but we know it was happening. So we had to change people's mind, and by developing ecotourism in a place where it's such a strong culture of cattle ranching, now people have better paid jobs, more opportunity for jobs. Women now have jobs that's very rare in a cattle ranching community. So they gain from that. They stopped seeing the jaguars as pests. Now they see jaguars as assets. It's very good for the landowners because now they have another way of making money out of their land. And obviously for jaguar, most importantly, they start being conserved, stop being shot. And like I said, they're a big asset to everyone now in Pantanal.
That's beautiful. Finally, we're a little bit over. Actually, we're heading towards the reception, but I want to give the final word to Sofia for any things I missed here, but also to wonder, how is Minnie? How is this little female jaguar that we flew from park to park and released? I mean, they have this amazing sort of acclimation, huge paddock set up where they get used to their new surroundings, but how's she doing?
Bueno, Minnie is one of the female we released when he was there. It was in Impenetrable in the Chaco region. We started to translocate between Iberá and Impenetrable. That is new for South America, translocation. Minnie is doing great. She's moving. And in October, when we come back from here, we're going to release another jaguar.
Does she have a boyfriend yet? Have you?
Yes. Three. The three males that they're around Minnie. I want to tell you that when we started thinking about these rivers as corridors, we were in quarantine 2020, and we were thinking that another keystone species that we need to bring back was a giant river otter. And we were there in Impenetrable, where you've been, and suddenly, by thinking this, the Jaguar River otter appeared in front of us, and that was like incredible because they were like extinct for 100 years since we were thinking this, but suddenly they were there. For sure, there were many less boats and in the rivers, but we started thinking where this male come from. You can identify the individuals by the patch they have here in the throat, and we started doing a big campaign so everyone can understand that we have a giant river otter already there, and we started trying to see how long he came, from where it comes, and it came from Pantanal. That was 1,000 kilometers north. And suddenly we presented a proposal for national parks to reintroduce the species because the species was already there. He was coming, he was calling for action. And you know, it started, they say yes, we started bringing females, we started doing the breeding center, but this male disappeared. And we started campaigning everywhere where it goes. And we received, like 3 months later, some pictures of the same male because of the throat, and it went through the Paraná River into the sea. It swam 3,000 kilometers south, went into the sea, come back then after. So these rivers, for them, are real corridor, and that is important to understand. For us, perhaps at that moment we didn't realize, but the Paraguay, Paraná River were alive. They are alive, and they gave us like the main thinking that we should protect this river because they are really acting as corridors.
If you've, I'm just here to tell you, there's nothing quite like the sound of a giant river otter eating a piranha. It's like, and you can go see that if you ever want to visit her work down at Impenetrable. And I was just reading about new science about how now there's been documented jaguars swimming 1 kilometer or more, like the way the distance that they're able to swim. So as they, you know.
Yes, they're the main cat that loves to fish. They can swim underwater. They can open their eyes underwater. So they're really the cats of the water. The river is for jaguars. So that's the name of the initiative because we think that under the legs of the jaguar, all the species will come back.
Wonderful. One idea for you, marketing idea. You get Lionel Messi and like the top footballers from each country. I mean, because those guys gotta love jaguars, right? You know, and then kick a ball across the border. Run with it. It's a free idea. It's time for the reception. We're all gonna hopefully network and get to know everybody a little bit better, make deeper connections. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for making this announcement in the Explorers Club. I want to come back here in 20 years with my son and just measure the success of this program. Thank you for being here. Big hand for that.
Thank you for all of you. You have to come in 20 years.
Thank you.
Ahora sí.